UME Radio is an Caribbean influenced New York based station. We do video streaming, we have live radio, and we also have press, where we offer newspaper services for persons who need it. And we also have our own newspaper. You can check it out, Power in Diaspora. You can check it out. It's on our app. All our information is on our app. And I'm going to do a special feature on the app so you can see all the services that are there, so that you can know what to expect when you get there. Now we have like a dating service there. So we have videos of all our programming. We have the live radio. We have live chat where you can talk to us and you can share information there. And we also have a store that is going to be available by the end of this month. But that store is for married couples. We have a singles project that we do there, where we work with persons who, people who are getting married or people who are single and seeking to date, stuff like that. But we're going to do a special little feature on there to share it, so you know exactly what's happening. So yes, so you should check it out, and you can go to umewatch.com as well to see all our videos. We do documentaries and things like that, as well as you can follow us on YouTube. Our YouTube name is UME Watch. If you search for that, you should see us. As well as we're on Facebook at UME Radio. We're on Instagram at UME Radio TV. And if you have any other questions, let us know, and I'm happy to answer them for you. And we have 2 minutes left, waiting for the persons to join us back. Some persons have joined already, some persons haven't yet. I hope they get it, because I know they were asking me like, please don't end it, but I didn't have a choice. It ends automatically after 60 minutes, and then I restart. So we don't have a choice. It's just how the system works. You're listening to UME Radio, UME Radio WME New York. I'm DJ Kelly, and this is the UME Radio morning show. We do this every morning. And it's been a blast. I am so thankful. I am so absolutely thankful. I feel so blessed to have had this opportunity to connect with people all over the world every day. It's just amazing. So I'm extremely thankful for that. And I hope that as we come here in the mornings and our programs, we execute our programs, that you're inspired. I hope that you are inspired by it and you feel empowered when we're done. So thank you so much for being here, all the persons who are here, and you're so faithful. You are so faithful. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're about to begin the news now. And thank you so much for joining us right here on UME Radio. This is the UME Radio Morning Show. I'm DJ Kelly, and now we're going to go to the New York Times. All the news that's fit to print. It's Thursday, February 13, 2020. And we're now going to go through what's on the front page of the New York Times. We start with the weather. Today, there will be rain and drizzle, mild, breezy later, with a high of 51. And for tonight, there will be patchy clouds. It will be breezy and colder at a low 30. Tomorrow, there will be clouds and sunshine, colder, high 35, and the weather map can be seen on page A22. I always try to describe the picture on the front page. I'm seeing it's a ship and people are standing on the outside, and I can see clothes hanging out to dry, and people scattered about, sparse, not a lot of people, seem like about less than 10 people at different parts on the ship. And the subtext below the picture says, the cruise ship Diamond Princess of Japan has reported 175 cases of the coronavirus. Wow. Yeah. The number, it continues, the number in China jumped on Thursday. And this is a Getty image. This image is courtesy of Getty Images. Oh, wow. Okay, let's see the stories around this image. There's no story on the image itself. Okay. So it's just the image. Okay, so let's go to the stories on the front page. And the first one reads, the headline says, U.S. lawyers fear removal of a guardrail. Stone case stirs worry of what's to come. This article is by Katie Benner, Charlie Savage, Sharon Lafreniere, and Ben Protest. For decades after Watergate, the White House treated the Justice Department with the softest of gloves, fearful that any appearance of political interference would resurrect the specter of Attorney General John Mitchell helping President Richard M. Nixon carry out a criminal conspiracy for political ends. In 2001, William P. Barr, describing his first stint as Attorney General under President George Bush, spoke of the department's protected status in the post-Watergate era. You didn't mess around with it, didn't intervene, you didn't interfere, he recalled in an oral history. Fast forward to 2020, and Mr. Barr is Attorney General once more. But President Trump's ground-shaking conduct has demolished those once sacrosanct guardrails. Mr. Barr's intervention to lessen a prison sentencing recommendation for the president's convicted friend, Roger J. Stone Jr., prompted all four career prosecutors handling the matter to quit the case. To career prosecutors around the country, the Stone case raised new fears of what is to come. Until now, according to conversations with more than a dozen career lawyers in some of the 93 U.S. attorneys' offices, they had watched other divisions in the Justice Department execute significant shifts in response to Mr. Trump, while the work of prosecuting crimes was largely unaffected by the politics of the moment. Now, career prosecutors said they worried they might face more pressure. In essence, the leadership of the Justice Department has commandeered the sentencing in a politically sensitive criminal matter, reversing the position uniformly accepted and promoted by the career prosecutors, said David Lothman, a partner at Wiggin and Dana and a former chief of the Justice Department's Counterintelligence and Export Control Section. The withdrawal of the prosecutors sent a clear signal, said Greg Brower, a former prosecutor who once headed the FBI's Congressional Affairs Office. They all disagreed with how top Justice Department officials intervened, he said. Beyond that, Mr. Brower said, they likely also believed there are ethical considerations that forced their decision. This story continues on page A21. In other news, this is the story under the photo. One day spike shows tenacity of an outbreak. This story is by Ronnie Karin Rabin. The news seemed to be positive. The number of new coronavirus cases reported in China over the past week suggested that the outbreak might be slowing, that containment efforts were working. But on Thursday, officials added more than 14,840 new cases. Oh my gosh. officials added more than 14,840 new cases to the tally of the infected in Hubei province alone, bringing the total number to 48,206, the largest one-day increase so far recorded. The death toll in the province rose to 1,310, including 242 new deaths. The sharp rise in reported cases illustrates how hard it has been for scientists to grasp the extent and severity of the coronavirus outbreak in China, particularly inside the epicenter, where thousands of sick people remain untested for the illness. Confronted by so many people with symptoms and no easy way to test them, authorities appear to have changed the way the illness is identified. Hospitals in Wuhan, China, the largest city in Hubei province, and the center of the epidemic, have struggled to diagnose infections with scarce and complicated tests that detect the virus's genetic signature directly. Other countries too have had such issues. That story continues on page A12. Another story on the front page. Behind Klobuchar's surge, a series of late bets, a flood of messaging delivers success in New Hampshire. Senator Amy Klobuchar knew she might have an opportunity in New Hampshire's presidential primary. As a fiscally moderate Democrat who opposes the Medicare for All and free 4-year college plans for her liberal rivals, Ms. Klobuchar was in sync with the smaller government tilt of plenty of Democrats in the state. Her emphasis on bipartisanship and pragmatism was a fit with New Hampshire's large number of unaffiliated voters or independents who could participate in the Democratic primary. And she often mentioned her support for New Hampshire's two centrist female senators, Jean Shaheen and Maggie Hassan. So in the aftermath of the chaotic Iowa caucuses, where her 5th place finish might have derailed other candidates, Ms. Klobuchar placed a series of bets on New Hampshire that paid off big on Tuesday night with her surprise 3rd place finish in the primary. While she now has a huge challenge ahead, competing for support from Hispanic voters in Nevada and black voters in South Carolina, where she is far behind in polls, the fact that Ms. Klobuchar has a shot is because of an 11th hour surge here that is usually the stuff of dreams for candidates. The first bet came last week, with Ms. Klobuchar running just 3% percentage points behind former Vice President Joseph R. Biden Jr. in the Iowa caucus results. Her campaign saw room to grow with moderate voters and decided to charter a plane to bring more than 20 staff members from the Iowa campaign to New Hampshire to mount a furious 6-day sprint. That story continues on page A17. And another story on the front page. Democrats split deepens anxiety among centrists. Sanders on the ascent. Without a clear favorite, some moderates give Bloomberg a look. This story is by Alexander Burns and Jonathan Martin. The Democratic presidential primary is entering an intensely tumultuous phase. An intensely tumultuous phase. After 2 early contests that have left former Vice President Joseph R. Biden Jr. reeling and elevated Senator Bernie Sanders, but failed to make any candidate a dominant force in the battle for the primary's nomination, within the Democratic establishment, the results have deepened a mood of anxiety and frustration. The collapse of Mr. Biden's support in the first 2 states and the fragmentation of the moderate voters among several other candidates allowed Mr. Sanders, a Vermont progressive, to claim a victory in New Hampshire and a split decision in Iowa, with former Mayor Pete Buttigieg of South Bend Indiana. In both states, a majority of voters supported candidates closer to the political center and named defeating President Trump as their top priority. But there was no overwhelming favorite among those voters as to which moderate was the best alternative to Mr. Sanders. Unless such a favorite soon emerges, party leaders may increasingly look to Michael R. Bloomberg as a potential savior. In an unmistakable sign of Mr. Bloomberg's growing strength and Mr. Biden's decline, 3 black members of Congress endorsed the former mayor of New York City on Wednesday, including Representative Lucy Macbeth of Georgia, a high-profile lawmaker and gun control champion in her first term, and a senior advisor to Mr. Bloomberg told campaign staff that internal polling showed the former mayor, now tied with Mr. Biden among African Americans in March primary states. The turmoil in the party has the potential to extend the primary season, exacerbating internal divisions and putting off the headache of uniting for the general election for months. The Democrats' proportional system of allocating delegates could make it all but impossible to avert such an outcome, with no winner-take-all contest and no indication yet that Mr. Sanders can broaden his appeal or that a moderate can coalesce support. The candidates are poised to keep splitting delegates 3 or 4 ways as they did in Iowa and New Hampshire. We are obviously going to have a longer battle here, said Mark Mellman, a Democratic pollster who directed an anti-Sanders ad campaign in Iowa. That story continues on page A18. Another story on that on page A16. Out in Iowa, the state's Democratic Party chairman resigned after chaotic caucuses. That story is on page A16. And another story on the front page, Pope's rebuff on married priests douses the optimism of liberals. This story is by Jason Horowitz and Elisabetta Povolido. Pope Francis has for now rejected a landmark proposal by bishops to allow the ordination of married men in remote areas underserved by priests, a potentially momentous change that conservatives have warned could set the Roman Catholic Church on a path toward lifting priestly celibacy and weakening church traditions. The decision, in a papal letter made public on Wednesday, was welcomed by conservatives, but it was a major setback for many of the Catholics who see Francis as their best hope for bringing fundamental change to the church. With the church facing a shortage of priests and increasing competition from evangelicals, in many countries, the idea of opening up the priesthood to married men had held broad appeal for liberals worried about the church's future. Coming 7 years into Francis's papacy, his decision also raised the question of whether his promotion of discussing once taboo issues is resulting in a pontificate that is largely talk. That story continues on page A9. In another story, there is another photo on the front page, and it looks like a fashion show. Below it says carbon neutral chic. The issue of sustainability has hit Fashion Week runways. Above, a Michael Kors design. That story is on page D2. How a climate change initiative took root in the White House. That's another story. I think that's the final story. Yeah, that's the final story on the front page. And it's by Lisa Friedman. People warned Mark Benioff, the billionaire, chief executive of Salesforce, not to bother talking to the White House about global warming. But Mr. Benioff, a tech mogul and an environmental philanthropist, felt sure he had found a climate change solution that even President Trump could love: planting trees. Never mind that the idea came from former Vice President Al Gore, who has demanded Mr. Trump's resignation over his energy policies. Never mind that Mr. Trump has begun the year-long process of withdrawing America from the Paris Agreement on climate change, mocked Greta Thunberg, the teenage climate activist, and worked to eliminate every regulation aimed at reducing planet warming emissions. The idea of planting 1 trillion trees had one enormous political advantage. It was practically sacrifice-free. No war on coal, no transition from fossil fuels, no energy conservation or investment in renewable sources of power that Mr. Trump loves to mock, like the windmills that cause cancer or the solar panels that are not strong enough. I just knew this is a really good idea, I said. I will pitch it and see what happens, Mr. Benioff said. This story continues on page A15. And in national headlines, a legal win comes too late. Victor Scar and others who cleaned up a nuclear disaster can sue for health care, but many have died. Page A14. Funding crackdown at Ivies. The government wants records from Harvard and Yale on gifts and other funds from foreign countries. Page A23. In international headlines, turning away from dirty oil, lenders and investors under pressure to act on climate change are ending their financing of Alberta's vast oil sands developments. Page A8. Irish rebel at two-party system. After breaks with the past on abortion and same-sex marriage, Ireland gave Sinn Féin a seat at the table. Page A4. And in New York, selfies at the debutante ball. Selfies at the debutante ball. What seems an outdated ritual of the 1% endures in Manhattan in the age of Instagram. That story is on page A24. And in business headlines, getting likes for his dislikes. Carlos Maza calls YouTube unethical and reckless, and he has the perfect place for his message, The Shift. Page B1. Anxiety over a Fed nominee. Some economists worry that Judy Shelton, being vetted for the bank, would bend policy for the president. That story is on page B1. Sports Thursday. Anyone want to buy the Mets? With the start of the season looming, the Wilpons have put the Mets back on the shopping block. What happens next is anyone's guess. That continues on page B9. Thursday. That's it. That's it for the news front page, and we just covered the news from the New York Times front page, all the news that's fit to print. And every day we look at migration trends. If you travel, if you plan to if you plan to travel, if you have family members who travel, then migration matters, migration issues, migration data should be important to you, because these are some of the things that will impact people who travel, whether it's voluntary or involuntary, whether you plan to migrate or you don't plan to migrate, because not all migration activity was planned or desired. There are people who just plan to visit somewhere and they never got a chance to return back to their home of birth, their place of birth. And there are persons who You have sex trafficking, you have human trafficking, you have persons who go for work and end up, in circumstances beyond their control. So it's important to, at the very least, know what is happening. Can't hurt to know what is happening. And so today, we started this week looking at frequently requested statistics, and for sure that continues today thanks to migrationpolicy.org for the information. And this information is also on our website, umepress.com. You can go there and you can see that as well as other stories. Frequently requested statistics on temporary visas in the United States. And this article was originally published on March 14, 2019 by migrationpolicy.org. How many people? So here are the questions. So the frequently requested statistics, you have questions and they provide the answers as well for the requests that were made. But I think it's very interesting to look at what is mostly requested. It would be even more interesting to know who's requesting it. How many people have temporary visas? According to the most recently available Department of Homeland Security DHS estimates, let me zoom into this. According to the most recently available Department of Homeland Security estimates, at the time of this writing, 2.3 million immigrants on various temporary visas resided in the United States during 2016, up from about 2 million in 2015. Almost half, 1.1 million, were temporary workers and their families, followed by 870,000 foreign students and their families, 40%. 61% were from Asia. Nationals of countries in Europe and North America accounted for 15%. The top 5 countries of origin, India, China, Mexico, Canada, and South Korea, accounted for 57% of all residents on temporary visas. Note, this estimate of temporary visa holders includes temporary workers, international students, exchange visitors, diplomats, and representatives of foreign governments and international organizations. It excludes tourists and other short-term visitors. North America includes Canada, Bermuda, Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean. How many people entered the United States on non-immigrant visas? In 2016, 42.7 million individuals entered the United States as I-94 non-immigrants on various temporary visas. On average, each I-94 non-immigrant was admitted 1.8 times. This is the first time the DHS Office of Immigration Statistics, OIS, estimated the number of unique individuals who came temporarily as opposed to the number of non-immigrant admissions or entries. Most of these non-immigrants, 34.2 million, entered as tourists, followed by 3.7 million business visitors. Of these, 15 million tourists and 1.7 million business travelers were from visa waiver countries. Further, 1 million international students entered on F1 visas. OIS estimated that additionally about 290,300 individuals were admitted on high-skilled worker H-1B visas, mostly from India, China, Canada, the United Kingdom, and Mexico, and 81,600 on non-agriculture, temporary or seasonal worker H-2B visas, mostly from Mexico, Jamaica, Guatemala, South Africa, and Canada. How many non-immigrant visas does the State Department issue? In FY 2018, the annual number of non-immigrant visas issued by the State Department decreased for the third time to 9 million, a 7% decline from the 9.7 million issued in FY 2017. The Trump administration implemented a number of policies in 2017 and 2018 that could lead to a decline in admissions, including the travel ban barring individuals from certain countries from U.S. entry, lengthened visa application process, and greater discretion for consular offices to deny visas. Let me read that again. The Trump administration implemented a number of policies in 2017 and 2018 that could lead to a decline in admissions, including the travel ban barring individuals from certain countries from U.S. entry, lengthened visa application processes, and greater discretion for consular offices to deny visas. From FY 2015 to FY 2018, visa refusal rates for tourists and business travelers from travel ban countries increased significantly. All applicants from North Korea were denied, followed by Somalia 90%, Iran 88%, Yemen 83%, Syria 77%, and Libya and Venezuela 74%. Furthermore, during the same period, visa refusal rates rose for visitors from some major non-travel ban countries, including Mexico from 20% to 25%, mainland China from 10% to 17%, and India from 24% to 26%. The three-quarter of the 9 million non-immigrant visa issued in FY 2018 were temporary business and tourist visas, B and BCC visas. The next largest class was for academic students and exchange visitors and their family members, F and J visa categories, who comprised around 8% of all non-immigrant visas issued in FY 2018. The third largest group of non-immigrant visas was given to temporary workers and trainees their family members, H visa categories, who comprised 7% of non-immigrant visas. Looking at the distribution of temporary visa issued in 2018 by region of origin, the largest shares were issued to nationals from Asia, 43%, North America, 22%, including Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean, and South America, 18%. The remainder, Europe, 12%, Africa, 6%, and Oceania, 0.7%. Please note the number of visas issued does not necessarily match the number of foreign nationals who entered the United States in the same year, because some non-immigrant visa may not be used. Next question: how many non-immigrant admissions does DHS grant in a year? How many non-immigrant admissions does DHS grant in a year? In total, DHS granted 181 million non-immigrant admissions in 2017, of which 103 million were admissions of Canadians traveling for business or pleasure and Mexicans who possess a non-resident border crossing card, that is the laser visa. These travelers are exempt from completing the I-94 arrival departure form at the port of entry. Thus, DHS does not provide characteristics for this group. In 2017, there were 77.6 million total temporary admissions of I-94 non-immigrant visas, a slight uptick from 77.1 million in 2016. And we want to thank migrationpolicy.org for this information. And so that was your migration stats roundup for today. Let's see what's on the migration news desk for today. Let's see what's top of mind. Okay, I went to the wrong place. You're listening to UMERADIO. This is the UMERADIO morning show, and of course, every morning we share with you pertinent data around migration for your information. Okay, so there are no news stories from the IOM, because we would have already shared with you from February 11, the UN stands ready to support the Cox's Bazar boat accident survivors. Yes, we would have covered those already. So we'll now go then to we'll go to consumer trends. Sorry about that. Okay, so today, every day we talk about, we share business trends, what's happening, especially in the digital world, because that's where business is going now. You can go to umepress.com to see the stories that the data that I'm sharing with you. They're all there, posted for your benefit. So we share information, especially for persons who, whether you're a brand, personal brand, or an entrepreneur or a business leader, you need the data in order to strategize and to be strategic in your business pursuit so that you can increase your client base. So we like to share data so that you can make informed decisions, evidence-based decisions as you execute your business. So today I'm sharing Google data shows new generation of online customers. So if you have an e-commerce store, if you're in e-commerce, then this is for you. So it's new customers coming on the block. The headline from their studies was Finance Industry Insights, the secret to winning a new generation of customers. The secret to winning a new generation of customers. Okay, we're on the cusp of the largest wealth transfer in history. As the baby boomer generation gets older, their accumulated wealth is being transferred to a new generation of financial consumers who will need products and advice. A new generation comes online. A new wave of customers is heading online to manage their finances and grow their wealth. By delivering on the desire for simplicity, confidence, and personalization, brands can identify opportunities, build urgency, and grow share of wallet with this new generation of financial consumers. And here are some stats. Mobile searches related to financial planning and management have grown by 70% over the last 2 years. Searches for saving advice are up 15% in the past year. Deliver simplicity. With more information comes more confusion, and people are craving help. People don't just want a brand, they want a trusted advisor, one that can cut out complexity and deliver clarity. And here are some stats. 84% of people consolidate their financial products and relationships to manage everything in one place or use a single login. Next, top 5 features people want when they consolidate financial products are set and track budgets, get FICO score updates, receive proactive advice and tips, pay family and friends, receive other financial lessons. And 81% of financial consumers want additional digital features and would find them useful. Instill confidence. People want help making informed financial decisions, achieving their results, and navigating life events. Brands that help in those areas will show they're a partner people can trust. And here are some data. Next to convenience factors, trust is the most frequently cited reason for deepening a financial relationship. Top 3 areas where consumers are more financially confident. 1. Managing checking and savings. 2. Paying bills online bills online or in-app. And 3. Understanding their credit score. Top three areas where consumers are least financially confident. 1. Planning for retirement. 2. Managing personal investments. And 3. Research new financial products. Personalize the experience. People feel their bank is the company that knows them best. They expect their bank to provide support, insight, digital experience, and offers tailored to their life stage and account history. 58% of people agree that personalized help is a key motivator in consolidating their financial products and relationships. People who are asked what type of companies know them best said their bank was number one. 56% of consumers want a new product in part because of an offer. Yet 65% of consumers think they are not receiving curated offers from their bank. And that wraps up the news, migration, and business trends for today. I hope that information was useful for you. It was very useful for me. I hope it was useful for you. And I want to say thank you so much for tuning in to UMERADIO. It's been such a pleasure serving you. And doing this is something that I love to do because of its empowering nature.